communities will benefit.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, as you know, Guy Expo and other events have last year we've been able to reintroduce them to much success and to have it returned after 4 years. It was about 5 or 6 years. Then the roads that we're referring to, the roads at the National Exhibition Center, to continue to be able to accommodate the patrons who come into Guy Expo and other events at the National Exhibition Center.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Member, Mr. Sears.
That will be all for now.
Honorable members, I now put a question. Honorable Member, Ms. Hughes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Minister, 6281 Security Services. We see a fairly large increase. So if you could explain the increase and the security company or companies contracted under this.
Honorable Minister.
Increase. Thank you, Honorable Member. The increase is as a result of the actual rates of the security services being increased, and we budgeted in 2023 using market prices, and for 2024 is the actual rates that are being used.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Member, Ms. Hughes.
And the security company or companies providing the service?
Nels Global Security Service.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Member, Ms. Hughes.
Thank you. Honorable Minister, 6302. Training, including scholarships. We see almost a 100% increase. Support training, but just curious if you could explain what areas of training and who are the recipients.
Honorable Minister.
Part of the strategic direction under this line item, it caters for 60 persons to be trained for the Digital in Motion program. This is a program that helps small and micro enterprises to train them to use the digital methods to support their businesses and to enhance productivity and capacity, as well as to help them to connectivity in their markets.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Member, Ms. Hughes.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. I'm just curious, is that strictly to staff, or is this one of the training areas you provide to private sector companies?
This is for strictly communities, businesses that are in the community identified. This project is being run in collaboration with the UNDP. And so in collaboration with them, we identify communities to benefit from the Digital in Motion program.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Member, Ms. Hughes.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Minister, could you just repeat the name of that security company? My apologies, I'm just going back to 6281 for clarity. And if you could say maybe how long they've been around. I didn't recognize the name.
Neither do I. Nels Security, Honorable Member. Nels Global. How long have they been?
Nels.
They were secured by open tender. We have no history of. We don't have any other information about the security company. We'd be willing to provide it if that is necessary.
If you could, thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Member, Ms. Hughes.
Thank you. If I could go on to 6291 national and other events. And we have a very large increase there. And I was just close to 100%. I'm just wondering if you could explain if this is increased events, new events that you're adding to your calendar, or maybe other events you're expanding into other parts of the country.
Honorable
Yeah.
Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Honorable Member, this increase is based solely on the Japan Expo. As the honorable member would appreciate, being a former Minister of Tourism, that we have the 5-year, every 5 years we have the International Expo. So this increase caters for the expo that's going to be happening in Japan next year, the $30 million.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable members, I now put a question that the sum stated for Program 231, Policy Development and Administration, current expenditure stands part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. Ayes have it, the sum stated now stands part of the estimates. Honorable member, let's turn to pages 152 and 153. And I propose the question that the sum stated for Program 232, Business Development, Support and Promotion, current expenditure, stands part of the estimates. Honorable Member Misuse.
Thank you. Honorable Minister, 6133, benefits and allowances. And we see an interesting activity here where we were budgeted for 1.405 in 2023. And of course, that was revised. But this year we go down to 710, although we haven't had a 50% decrease in your staff. I see your staff move from 18 to 13. So I don't know if you could explain that. It is benefits and allowances. So we're just wondering if any staff have lost out in that area.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The decrease, I'm advised, is due to the Director of Industrial Development retiring and the Director of Commerce no longer being there.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Member Misuse.
Thank you. Security services under this heading again, 6281. Very similar kind of situation, moving from 39032 to 67799. Is it a similar situation? And again, the name of the security company or companies?
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As you know, we have now added 4 new call centers in under our portfolio, and this is the reason for the increase for the security services for this call centers.
Thank you, Minister.
The security service is RK Security.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Member.
It was publicly tendered. They're all public.
Honorable Member, Mr. Hemraj. Honorable Member Misuse, have another question?
Yeah, there's just what.
Honorable Member Mr. Sears.
Yeah, line item 6321, subsidies and contributions to local organizations. We've seen an increase of that's about $71 million, if my math is correct. I'm just asking, I would like to ask the minister, what contributions, sorry, which are the beneficiaries or who are the beneficiaries in terms of local organizations that this line item is attached to?
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is contributions to the Guyana National Bureau of Standards and the Small Business Bureau.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Member, Ms. Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a quick follow-up on that particular Guyana Small Business Council and Bureau. Is a report normally given on what happens in that particular organization? Because the Bureau of Standards and so at Appendix T, I see what is happening there, but there's nothing for Small Business Council and Bureau. So is there a report that is laid or the minister gets as to what has transpired with that agency throughout the year?
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, there is a report that is provided by the board of the Small Business Bureau.
Is it possible for you to lay over that report for
This is a report on the distribution of grants.
the distribution of grants and how the process that goes into the distribution of grants?
Honorable Minister, the process.
Yes, we can provide that, please.
You will.
Mr. Chair.
Honorable Member, Ms. Hughes. Sorry, I have Ms. Fernandez first. Yes.
Thank you, sir. It's just a follow-up on the very same line item to deal with the subsidies and contributions to local organization. I did know that the minister stated the National Bureau of Standards and the Guyana Small Business Council and Bureau. But according to if we turn to page 471, we will see a long list of others coming under that very heading, not just those two. For example, Help and Shelter, Legal Aid Clinic, and so forth. I'm not sure, probably my book is a little off.
Honorable Minister.
I think my copy is a little bit distorted. That's why I'm asking for that clarification.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, sir.
We have one process in the House. MP to Speaker, Speaker to Minister, Minister to Speaker.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
sir.
Yeah.
I think my
Don't worry,
copy is distorted. That's why I was asking
Yeah.
for some clarity. So I definitely need to change what I'm looking at. Thank you.
Take care. Gotcha. Please, I thank everyone for the assistance in answering some queries, but let us keep it a bit formal. Honorable Member, Ms. Hughes.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. I'm wondering if on the policy side, if we could get an update on the current status of the Lethem industrial area and that whole project that was going on there.
Honorable Minister.
The Lethem Industrial Estate has been completed. If I believe that you might be referring to, or 2024, we are outfitting further the business incubator area, but we are taking applications for the industrial estate proper and applications as well for the business incubator area. That's where we'll be doing microprocessing, agro-processing, and other kinds of business to help small businesses to be able to garment processing, food processing, purifying of water. These are the kinds of activities that we are inviting on the estate. So a portion of the business incubator is finished, a large portion of it, but there is an additional portion that we will be completing in 2024. But the estate, we are inviting applicants for the occupation of the estate. So.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable members, I now for the question that the sum stated for program 232, business development, support and promotion, current expenditure. Stands part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. Ayes have it. The sum stated now stands part of the estimates. Honorable members, let us turn to pages 154 and 155. And I propose the question that the sum stated for program 233, consumer protection current expenditure, stands part of the estimates. Honorable members, I now put a question that the sum stated for program 233, consumer protection current expenditure, stands part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. I'll go back. Yes, Ms. Halley.
Thank you, sir. Just one quick question. 6321, the Guyana Consumers Association. In 2023, 500,000 was budgeted, nothing was paid out, and it's being budgeted again. Can the minister state what is the issue with the Guyana Consumers Association?
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have been reaching out to the Guyana Consumers Association because there is an amount, as the honorable has mentioned, that that is given to them every year, but they have not been able to. They have not responded. They have to respond with their compliances and their budget, and we have not gotten a response. So this we may have to consider removing them from the subvention.
Thank you. Minister, honorable member, Ms.
Thank you,
Halley.
Mr. Chair. That same line item, 6321, the Guyana Real Estate Agents Authority, I see that there is a budgeted amount. I'm just inquiring as to what systems are being put in place, since real estate seems to be the going thing, by the ministry to assist the agents in upping their game in terms of real estate this year. What support is being put in place by the ministry, minus just the funding?
Honorable Minister.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, as this House will know that the Real Estate Agents Authority Bill Act has recently been passed. Just 2 weeks ago, the board has been constituted, and so everything that it relates, the Ministry of Tourism, Ministry and Commerce supervises. The minister is the one that oversees this authority. The chairman, the authority will meet and they will identify a chairman and they will identify the procedure in which they operate. And the Minister of Tourism, Industry and Commerce has oversight over this board, but there will be a board that will inform how they move forward.
Thanks, Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Can the honorable minister say whether the board has been constituted, if they're members of the board, or they're now in the process of filling those positions?
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The board has been constituted as of about 2 weeks ago.
Is it possible for the minister to state either the individuals, or can they be the individuals who are on that board?
But the board, Mr. Speaker, this is a matter of public record. It's been published in the Gazette, but I do not know the names of the person offhand, but the Act provides for the members, for bodies to be represented.
Understood.
And so those are.
Would we be able to?
Lovely.
Okay, I guess I can get it from the Gazette.
Yeah.
Thanks, Minister. Honorable member, Ms. Halley.
One on the Competition and Consumer Affairs Commission, that's the 6321. Would the minister be able to state how many complaints they received this year and the responses last year, I guess?
Honorable Minister.
And how many were amicably resolved?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The number of complaints it received in 2023 is 492 and resolved to the value of the way it's reported. It's the value of 481 million, and 85% of those cases have been resolved.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable members, I now put a question that the sum stated for program 233, consumer protection current expenditure stands part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. Ayes have it. Sum stated now stands part of the estimates. Honorable members, let us turn to pages 156 and 157. I propose the question that the sum stated for program 234, tourism development and promotion, current expenditure, stands part of the estimates. Honorable member, Ms. Hughes.
Thank you. 6291, national and other events. Again, we have an increase, and if you could just explain if what's responsible for the increase.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This, once again, the increase relates to the Guyana's participation of the Japan Tourism Expo that is slated for 2025.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable member, Ms. Hughes.
Honorable Minister, where do you put your other local events?
Honorable Minister.
6291, the same line item has local events there also
Okay, so
provided for.
could you disaggregate and just give me an idea of what the figure for your local vis-a-vis the international?
Okay.
Honorable Minister.
Mr. Chair, the support for events such as the Guyana Energy Conference, Mashamani, School Talks, that's at Berbice High School, Linden Foundation, Clash of the Titans, and other events. Support for events in Q2, that's the Korean International Martial Arts, Maracaibo Off-Road Safari, T20, Rodeo, Golf Academy, the Inter-Schools Kayaking Competition that is conducted in Region 10, Kids Cooking Academy, and others. There's the Rupununi Music and Arts Festival, Berbice Expo, Gaia Expo, Building Expo, Agri Investment Forum and Expo, Seaboard Marine Race of Champions, CPL Cricket, South of Rupununi Safari, Guyana Restaurant Week, Rupununi Expo.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable member.
Christmas Village, sorry, please.
Sorry,
Sorry,
go ahead.
Mr. Chair, not finished.
I'd
Yeah, and
actually
if-
asked just for to disaggregate the local as vis-a-vis the international. So two totals would be suffice.
Honorable Minister.
The local, Mr. Chair, 70,990,000.
Sorry, ministers, 70,990,000, you said?
Or
Honorable
the,
Minister.
sorry, Mr. Chair. So on the Guyana Tourism Authority, the local events are 70,990,000, and on the Ministry Department of Tourism is 27,802,000.
Honorable member, Ms. Hughes. Honorable Member Ms. Halley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I am looking at the volume 2 under tourism development and promotion, where one of the strategies is to prepare and implement aggressive tourism development. I'm wondering from the minister if there is an active tourism development and destination marketing plan that the ministry is actually utilizing at this particular point to position Guyana as a globally recognized tourism destination.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, we do, please, the honorable member, there is a tourism strategic action and marketing plan.
Is it possible for you to lay that over? Is that?
Yes,
Honorable
yes, we
Minister.
absolutely can. There has been a reason that tourism has been seeing the success that is being seen right now. It is with a clear vision and a plan. And that plan is everything.
Please, thank you for the plan.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Member Ms. Halley.
Mr. Speaker.
Ms. Halley, don't forget you have 4 current and 3 former tourism ministers in the House.
And one future.
Chair,
Honorable Member Mr. Sears first.
Mr. Speaker, line item 6302, training, including scholarships. I would like to ask the minister if she can just give us a briefing as to who are the beneficiaries and in what areas.
Honorable Minister.
This caters for the training through the Department of Tourism, the hosting of regional workshop with the Regional Tourism Council. I believe the honorable member is the chair of one of those councils, Region 10, will be benefiting from this. Training in the budget and financial report for 5 staff, training of the trainers in the regional committees as well and stakeholders and budget preparation. In all 10 regions and hosting of workshops to gather information for the development of community-based tourism handbooks.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Member Mr. Mahipal.
thank you, sir. Sir, on the rental of buildings, maintenance of buildings, sorry, maintenance. Sir, does this sum cater for the maintenance of the Otachong Conference Center?
Yes,
Honorable Minister.
Mr. Chair, yes, it does cater for the maintenance of the Artichon Conference Center, especially in light of our present occupants.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Sir, may I have a follow-up? Sir, I'm going through and I'm not sure if I'm going through the revenue, and if I'm correct, this building is also being rented out as a building that can bring in money. Am I correct with that?
Honorable Minister.
Mr. Chair, yes.
Sir, can the honorable ministers tell us how much money was received? I'm actually going through the estimates and I'm not picking up the
Honorable
actual
Member, I
numbers.
think we went through that twice today about revenues. We don't question revenues, right? But I'm sure in one of these appendices you'll see the breakdown.
Mr. Chair.
Honorable Member Mr. Mahipal, you have
Yes,
a
sir.
follow-up?
Thank you. I'm going through the revenue. Thank you for the guidance.
You're welcome, sir. Honorable Member Ms. Halley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Back in volume 2 again, there is a indicator for number of visitors arrival in 2024. Would the honorable minister be able to disaggregate, not necessarily now, but lay over disaggregation as to where visitors are coming from and where they're going once they get here, if that is possible?
Honorable Minister.
That's a late over, not necessary to go through it because it's a large number.
Yes, we do have our main markets, which is the United States, Canada, Europe, the Caribbean, Latin America, and other, which is not stated. But I can lay over the most of the time there's Region 9 and the Essequibo circuit are the main areas that they visit. But we can lay this open. So.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable members, Honorable Member Mr. Figueroa.
Thank you, Madam Chair. 6303 training. Would this training that you would be offering cater for the uniqueness each region offers as a tourism piece for the preparation of a pamphlet or magazine that could help promote tourism holistically, but also provide individual regions of the tourism product that each region offers across the country?
Honorable Minister.
Mr. Chair, I believe the honorable member is referring to the regional tourism travel guide, and we are developing it for each region. As you can see, this is specific to Region 10, and yes, indeed, it highlights the attractions for that region
So that will be done
as
in all
well.
of
And for each, we are doing 7 this year. Last year we did a region 2. I probably should have those guides. This is the Region 2 guide. So it's specific Cinderella County. It's specific to Region 2 and all the attractions and tours and experiences we have built out in Region 2. And we'll be doing that for each and every region every year.
Thank you, Minister.
Thank you.
Honorable Member Mr. Sears.
Mr. Speaker, not specific to a line item, but just if you may indulge me, I would like to ask the minister if any subvention is being catered for the regional committees, the regional tourism committees across Guyana.
Honorable Minister.
Mr. Chair, the idea is for the regional tourism committees to ultimately be independent and to drive, if for tourism is mostly, we would like to see it to be driven by the private sector. Government, we're giving at the Ministry of Tourism the support that is needed for the tourism committees to ultimately be able to sustain themselves and to drive. Most of the members are private sector already engaged in some tourism service and tour guides. We do initially, we do have a $6 million allotment for regional tourism development.
Thank you. Honorable Member Ms. Hughes.
Honorable Minister, I know in the budget speech and of course in this process over the last 2 weeks, we are aware of, I think it's more than 6 new hotels coming on stream. And of course, we think it's a great thing. Yes, it's this year. And so I wanted to know what specific plans the ministry is putting in place to assist the private sector and these investors in bringing, of course, the necessary training, having our local people trained to fill those positions. And this ties into your performance statements and your strategies in terms of the second one, support businesses that are involved in new processes and products in the sector. So just an idea of what you're planning for this year to assist.
Honorable Minister.
So we have the Hospitality Institute that is currently under the Ministry of Education. That contract has been signed, and that the institute is about to I believe the Minister of Education will be able to speak more to that, but we are about to start the consultancy for the build out of that institute. The Ministry of Tourism will be supporting the curriculum development for the institute. In the meanwhile, we continue to train several throughout the regions. We have trained about 1,200 persons in safety, cuisine management, hotel management, and we continue to do that throughout all of the regions.
Thanks, Minister. Honorable Member, Ms. Hughes. Thank you, honorable members. I now put the question that the sum stated for program 234, tourism development and promotion, current expenditure stands part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. Ayes have it. Sum stated now stands part of the estimates. Let us turn to page 501. Honorable members, I propose a question that the sum stated for program 231, policy development and administration capital expenditure stands part of the estimates. Honorable member, Ms. Hughes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Under, this will be line item 1214700, buildings. Provision for upgrading of facilities, and I know they say it's a parking lot and bridge. Can you say where this is located?
Honorable Minister.
This is the bridge at the National Exhibition Center, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable member, Ms. Hughes.
And just clarification, the parking lot is at the same location?
Same location,
Okay.
almost 4,000 square meters.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable member, Ms. Hughes.
I'd like to go on then to, I don't know, are there any other questions on this one? Okay. Mr. Speaker, I wanted to go on if there are no other questions to business development, support and promotion.
Okay, before I allow you to go on, I'll have to put the question that, and I so put that for program 231, policy development and administration capital expenditure, that the sum stated herein stands part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. Ayes have it. Sum stated now stands part of the estimates. Honorable members, let us go to program 232, business development support and promotion, capital expenditure. And I propose the question that the sum stated herein stands part of the estimates. Honorable member, Ms. Hughes.
Thank you. Honorable Minister, 4403-100, National Quality Infrastructure. And I know they refer to lab facilities. So I'm wondering, I'm wondering if you could give us an update on this project, the status of the project, and a little more information on the lab facilities.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The main laboratory building is a two-story building of about 38,000 square feet. The completion date is July of this year, 2024. The contract duration has been for 80 months and we are on target.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable member, Ms. Hughes.
And where exactly?
Minister.
Is it two-story?
This building is in the National Exhibition Center where the Guyana National Bureau is also situated.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable member, Ms. Hughes. Thank you, honorable members.
I'm looking around to see if anyone else wanted to ask.
You have someone behind you.
Sorry, okay.
Ms. Halley. Honorable member, Ms. Halley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I'm at 450-2800 Rural Enterprise Development. If I am correct, I'm seeing that there's support for enterprise development initiatives. Can the minister please state what support she intends to give during this year and to which rural enterprises she's speaking to?
Honorable Minister.
The rural enterprise development, we are the 2 call centers in Region 5, which we are expected to create an additional 800 jobs. And the other co-investment projects that government will identify, which may include the call centers as well.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Ms. Halley. Honorable Member, Ms. Hughes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. 4404-200 Small Business Development Fund. And we see an increase of 150. And I am wondering, we know that this is a small business development fund. So could you give us an idea this year how many people are expected to benefit from the fund, and how are persons selected to be a beneficiary?
Honorable Minister.
Mr. Chair, for context, we at the Small Business Bureau have given out 4,000 grants to the tune of $999 million in the past 3 years. And just for context, please, Mr. Chair, the APNU AFC gave out 900 grants in the 5 years that they have been with the Small Business Bureau. So one can make an assessment of which one was more selective than the other, because it's 4,000. These grants are open to all tiny and small and micro enterprises that wish to apply to all regions.
Thank you, Minister. And for the Honorable former Minister of Tourism.
Chair,
And of course,
300 industrial development. Can the Honorable Minister say how much money is allocated for the completion of the Esquibo industrial estate?
Honorable Minister.
One minute, please, Mr. Chair. Yes. On the remaining industrial development works, 835 million have been allocated for the continued development of this 52 acres of land for the purposes of industrial development in that area.
Thank you, Minister.
Could the Honorable Minister say when this project is expected to be completed?
Honorable Minister.
This project is expected to be completed October 4th of this year, Mr.
Thank
Chair.
you, Minister.
Thank you.
Honorable Member, Ms. Hughes.
Honorable Minister, could we ask that the list of all the recipients of the fund be laid over? Thank you.
Honorable Minister.
Mr. Chair, just for clarity, what fund are we referring to? Recipients of the fund?
Honorable Member, Ms. Hughes, clarification.
Sure. 4404-200 Small Business Development Fund.
Mr. Chair, grants, is she referring to grants? Because they've been grants and loans as well that is on the fund.
Honorable Minister. Honorable Member, Mr. Mahipon.
Sir, the same question I was going with, but I wanted to specify.
Honorable Member, Mr.
Grant.
Sears.
Mr. Speaker, just going back a little bit, to line item 4404-300, single window automated processing system. I would just like to ask the Honorable Minister, how much of, in terms of percentage, has this fund been expended from IDB to date?
Honorable Minister.
Mr. Chair, I'm advised 40% of the 6 million US has been expended.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable members.
Mr.
Aye.
Speaker.
Honorable member, Mr. Mahi.
Thanks, sir. Sir, forgive me, but I didn't hear the response the Honorable Minister gave towards the request for the layoff of the list of the recipients of the grants.
Honorable Minister.
Mr. Chair, I am faced with the difficulty of releasing people's personal information. This will be their names, but I can release by region, the number of recipients for each region, every single region. I do not know that
Go ahead, Minister. I'm listening to you.
Mr. Chair, we have had complaints, concerns from recipients of our grants that they are targeted when their names are released of their businesses, the names of their businesses and their location of their businesses that they're targeted. I do not know that that they will be comfortable with their names being released, but we are willing, sir, to release by region all of the persons and the sectors under which the businesses represent, whether it's agriculture, barber, I'll be able to release that kind of information. But to release people's release their names, I believe, sir, it's situated on the point of yeah.
Thank you very much, Minister. So, Minister will release by region and sectors in each region, number of persons who have received these grants. Honorable member, Mr. Mahipol.
Thank you, sir. Sir, would the minister be kind enough to tell us the specific criteria that was used to disburse these grants?
Thank you, honorable member. Minister.
Mr. Chair, the Small Business Bureau is the Small Business Bureau, the criteria for registered is under the Small Business Act. Mr. Chair, the Small Business Act lists the criteria for what the classification of a small business, in the fact that you have to be registered with the Small Business Bureau, that you have to have a certain size and a certain capital. So that is the criteria that is governed by the Small Business Act. We have not made this up there. Please, Mr. Chair. The other criteria is that the persons have to be registered, have to be NIS compliant and GRA compliant. That is it, please, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable member, Mr. Mahipol. Honorable member, Mr. Sears.
Mr. Speaker, line item 450-330, industrial development. I would like to ask the Honorable Minister.
Honorable members, I'm trying to hear the honorable member,
Yes,
Mr. Sears.
I would like to ask the Honorable Minister We've observed that this project received a reasonable allocated sum in 2023. And of course, that was passed. And we're in 2024. I do understand that this project is an ongoing project with relations to the industrial estates in Essequibo and Linden. What percentage is this project at in Essequibo and in Linden? And when is this project scheduled to be completed? This is in relation to industrial estates.
Honorable Minister.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair. Is it 4503300? Is that industrial development?
Correct.
Sahara dust.
On the meaning industrial estate, it's the 4th of September, and the Amelia was ward that is moved to York. What is the date of completion?
Clearing.
That land is now being cleared, so we expect by the end of the year, we should have
Thank you,
advanced
Minister.
the works.
Just a quick follow-up
Go ahead,
question
John.
with regards to
Honorable MP.
the industrial estate at Linden. Is there any other challenges other than its location right now? If the minister may shed some light.
Honorable Minister.
Yes, Mr. Chair, we have had to move because of the discovery of the lands that we were using at the Amelia's ward to have been found to have substantial bauxite deposits, that we've decided to move the industrial estate to a location that is more conducive.
Thank you, Minister.
Just one other question.
Mr.
This
Sears?
final question on this line item. Could you say specifically where the location is? Is it still in Amelia's ward or somewhere else?
It is at York Plantation.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable members, I now put the honorable member, Ms. Hughes.
Just a follow-up specifically, I know you gave us information on the other two estates, the industrial development at Wales. Could you give us a status update on that one?
Honorable Minister.
The aim of the industrial development at Wales is to increase the level of value added activities in the Wales development, and that in the Wales development zone. And that is, we will now begin to, that project is now going to start this year.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable member, Ms.
I'll follow up. When you say the project is going to start, what specifically are you referring to?
The estate is being identified, and so it's for the consultants to charter a way forward in terms of development of this estate.
Thanks, Minister. Honorable member, Ms.
So just to clarify, you don't actually have a plan in terms of, similarity to the industrial estate, let's say in Latham, where you have the incubators. Is it a different structure that you haven't identified yet?
Honorable Minister.
In terms of actual rolling out of the development, no, we do have a vision, and which is that is for it to propel value-added activities, and another completion of this estate will take advantage of the low energy costs that we will have from the gas energy project, and to catapult our manufacturing sector. That is the overall vision of this estate.
Thanks, Minister. Honorable members, I now put a question that the sum stated for program 232, business development support and promotion, capital expenditure stands part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. The sum now stands part of the estimates. Honorable members, program 233, consumer protection, and I propose the question that the sum stated herein for capital expenditure stands part of the estimates. Honorable members, I now put a question that the sum stated for program 233, consumer protection, capital expenditure stands part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. Ayes have it. Sum stated now stands part of the estimates. Honorable members, program 234, tourism development and promotion, capital expenditure. I now propose a question that the sum stated herein stands part of the estimates. Honorable member Ms. Hughes.
Thank you. Just one question. The provisions for furniture and equipment, what furniture is that specifically, and also the equipment? If it's a long list, I just want an idea of where it's going. 4100400. It's the only one under tourism development.
Minister.
Mr. Chair, the question, what sort of equipment?
What furniture and
What-
where is that going? And then what kind of equipment are we referring to
Right.
here?
This is the Department of Tourism. That's at the head office, and magazine stand, UPS battery backup, computer, four desktop computers.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable member Ms. Hughes.
And yeah, that's the furniture. The equipment, is it any large pieces of equipment, a specific type or purpose?
Under the Ghana Tourism Authority, there's a 124-seater bus and a satellite phone.
Thank you, Minister.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Honorable member.
Thank you, sir. Sir, under project code 1208300, I see provision for security hut. May I ask the Honorable Minister, where will this security hut be? Is it the existing one we're dismantling to put up a new one, or somewhere else? At the Arthur Chung Conference Center.
Honorable Minister.
This is at the southeastern panel room. So it's the panel room that is currently underutilized, and it will convert it into a guard hut at the emergency exit gate.
Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable members, I now put a question that the sum stated for program 234, tourism development and promotion capital expenditure, stands part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. Ayes have it. The sum stated now stands part of the estimates. Honorable Minister, thank you, and we thank the staff for taking us through your agency. We actually used up 2 hours of the 10 minutes of saving, 2 minutes of the 10 minutes of saving. Honorable members, let's invite the Honorable Minister of Natural Resources, the Honorable Vikram Bharat, and his team to take us through his agency. And Minister can use the right station, the station on the right. Honorable members, as the team gets in place, let me invite you to turn to pages 162 and 163. Is the Prime Minister heckling now? Honorable members, I turn your attention to Program 26, Ministry of Natural Resources, and propose that for Program 261, Policy Development and Administration, current expenditure that the sum stated herein stands part of the estimates. Honorable Member, Mr. Holder.
Thank you, Comrade Chairman. Comrade Chairman, line item 6116, contracted employees. Can the minister explain the significant increase?
I think you have to repeat because your honorable colleagues have been having a good laugh at someone's expense.
I heard.
Go ahead, Honorable Member.
Minister heard, said.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Let me thank the honorable member for the question too. Mr. Chair, the increase in line item 6116 contracted employees. One, it accounts for the increase given by government, which is retroactive, as well as an increase in 3 employees under this program. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Member, Mr. Holder.
Thank you, Comrade Speaker. Could you give the designations and all the information on these employees? And could you say, okay,
Honorable Minister.
Mr. Chair, the 3 new members of staff designation, Principal Assistant Secretary Finance, the procurement officer, as well as a biodiversity specialist. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister.
thank you. Thank you,
You can
Comrade.
sit, Honorable Member, Mr. Holder, and pull the microphone close to
Thank
you.
you.
We'll get the full volume.
Thank you, Comrade Speaker. Comrade Speaker, line item 6284, order. There's an increase from the revised sum of 41,225,000 to 56,280,000. Could the minister explain that increase?
Mr. Chair,
Honorable Minister.
thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, 6284 order. Beneficial ownership consultancy for the creation of the beneficial ownership register, 20 million. I'll give you the breakdown as well to honorable member. The consultancy for the systematic feasibility, 14 million. That is to ensure we have systematic disclosure based on the EITI standards. The Youth and Natural Resources Program, $8 million. Legal Advisory Services, EITI Secretariat, 10. And advertisement brochures, $4 million. Counting for the total of $56 million.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Member, Mr. Holder.
Thank you, Comrade Chair. Can the minister lay over the information?
Honorable Minister.
Mr. Chair, I'm not clear.
Could you lay over the information, the breakdown, the complete breakdown, so I can go through it?
But wasn't that the complete breakdown, Minister?
That is the complete breakdown. I can repeat it for the honorable member.
Okay, could you,
Once he says it here, it's now part of the permanent records and will be in the minutes and the transcript and the hindsight.
I'm guided, Comrade.
Thank you.
Comrade Speaker.
Go ahead, Honorable Member, Mr. Holden.
Line item 6302, training. Could the minister explain the number of persons that are being trained and in what areas?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, this will account for the continuous training of staff. We have a system at the ministry where we do continuous training in the courses such as leadership, management, conflict resolutions, communications. So it will account for training in those areas for all members of staff under this program. Thank you.
Mr. Ramsrud?
Thank you, Comrade Chair. 6241. There is a rental for a building, 26 million. Can you say what's the purpose for the building and where is it?
Honorable Minister.
6241.
Mr. Chair, the rental of this building is for our annex building located at 55 Main Street. This is the building that houses the GYEITI Secretariat, as well as the Compliance Department of the Ministry of Natural Resources. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister.
Thank you,
Go ahead, Honorable Member.
Can the Honorable Minister 6284? In 2023, we had a budget for 404,133,000. And in 2024, it was actually 710 million.
No, I think this is, Mr. Chair, I think it's the wrong program. This is program.
For the capital.
This is 261.
261.
I think you
Oh, sorry,
recorded
sorry.
261.
Current, we're at current.
Thank you, thank you.
Honorable members, I now put a question that is sum stated for program 261, policy development and administration current expenditure stands part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. Ayes have it. The sum stated now stands part of the estimates. Honorable members, let's turn to pages 164 and 165. And I propose the question that the sum stated for program 262, natural resource management, current expenditure stands part of the estimates. The Honorable Member, Mr. Holder.
Thank you, Comrade Chair. Comrade Chair, can the minister explain the decrease in the sum for line item 6116 contracted employees? I noticed that the employment moved from 32 to 33, but we have a decrease rather than an increase.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, there's a slight decrease in the allocation from 2023 to 2024, mainly because of leavers and joiners. We had 4 leavers in 2023 and 3 joiners. However, the 4 leavers were Warden 1, meaning a higher grade of salary, and the 3 joiners started as Warden 2, which account for a low grade of salary.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Member, Mr. Holder.
Thank you, Comrade Chair, and thank you, Minister. Line item 6282, there's a significant increase there on the, sorry, not 6282, 6281, security services, moving from 4,287,000 all the way to 11 million in 2024. Can the minister please explain the increase?
Honorable Minister.
Yes. Mr. Chair, what happened in 2023 at the Main Street Annex building, we made provision for 12-hour shift security at that building. But what we are doing in 2024 now is to increase that the 24-hour shift system so that we have more protection at that building. at Main Street.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Member, Mr. Holder.
Minister, you're saying what coverage you had prior to 2024 in terms of security service? I may have missed it.
Honorable Minister.
It was a 12-hour shift, Honorable, through you, Mr. Chair, 12-hour shift. Now we are switching to 24 hours shift system.
Okay,
Thank you, Minister.
all right.
Mr. Holder.
Line item 6284, order. And we see a huge increase there again from 404 million to 710 million. Minister, in this allocation, is there any sum for the mineral mapping survey, which you spoke about in your budget speech?
Honorable Minister.
Mr. Chair, the direct answer to the question is yes, but if I may be able to allow to explain further so that the honorable member in the House and the people of Guyana can truly understand the reason behind the increase in allocation of $305 million for this program. So yes, honorable member, there is a allocation of $400 million for the mineral mapping project as phase one of the project, because I'm sure you will be aware that to conduct a project of this scale in all the mining districts throughout Guyana, it will range from 30 to 40 million US dollars. And I think this was one of the hindrance as to why a new mineral inventory or mapping was not done for maybe over 40 years now. It is badly needed, and it is part of our commitment in the Low Carbon Development Strategy 2030. What it will seek to do is to assist us in the allocation in a more informed way of allocating claims and blocks, mining blocks that have evidence of mineralization, rather than to award blocks or claims that we have limited or no data on, or the data are outdated or old, thereby reducing significantly deforestation. And we have committed as a country to keeping our deforestation rate at a very minimum to where it is today, 0.036%. So this project will assist in keeping our deforestation rate low, in the put us in an informed position in the awarding of blocks and claims to miners. And also, it will reduce the cost of prospecting or exploration, especially to the small and medium scale miners in Guyana. And as we know too, that medium and small scale mining in Guyana is done only by Guyanese miners and no foreign company. So it will assist the sector a great lot, as well as to keep our commitment of a low deforestation rate. Another allocation of $300 million goes to land reclamation and reforestation. Mr. Chair, you would recall that in 2023, we had a similar budgetary allocation. I'm happy to report, if I may be allowed to, that this project has commenced and has advanced significantly in Region 10. It was an area of almost 60 acres identified for restoration, reclamation, reforestation. That project has advanced significantly, employing over 100 persons in Region 10 and about 3 to 4 permanent staff working with that project. This allocation is for a continuation of the project, but not in the same region. We are now targeting Region 8 and Region 1, especially around the Madja area, where there is significant mine-out areas close to the township, and also in the Matthews Ridge area, where there is significant mine-out areas. Mr. Speaker, this will help significantly to boost our capacity as a green country, our forest coverage, and in the long term, add more carbon credits to our already verified
credits by R3s. Mr. Speaker, the other 10 million, sorry, will go towards advertising costs and developing mining policies within the ministry, given an account for the allocation on the 6284. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Member, Mr. Holder.
Thank you, Comrade Speaker, and thank you, Mr. Minister, for that breakdown. Can the Minister say which specific areas this first phase of mineral mapping or the 400 million allocation will cover? What's the time frame or the expected completion time? Can the Minister also say what minerals other than gold and diamond you'll be surveying for?
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To answer the last question, of course, it's gold, diamond, and critical elements. Critical elements are becoming very, very sought after right now around the world, especially with the world's commitment to achieving 100% renewable by 2050, thereby the need for batteries and solar panels. We know that lithium is in big demand across the world. As a matter of fact, last year production for lithium was just about 500,000 tons. The demand was 3 million tons. So it is a much sought after element around the world. And we know that there are few countries in South America producing lithium. So we believe that there may be a possibility that we do have that critical mineral here too. So that's why we are focused not only on gold and diamond, but also the critical element, especially lithium. We will be focusing, Mr. Chair, sorry, on a few of the main mining districts first, because as I mentioned, it will cost us a lot to do all the mining districts. We know the main mining districts as being the Mazaruni area, the Peruni area, as well as the Northwest District. So those are the main mining districts, and those are the ones that we will focus on in the first phase. Also, this project will entail a lot of in-house work before we actually start the physical survey, because as you would understand, we need to do that before we actually go out and start the physical, because there is some amount of data that is available at GGMC that needs to be analyzed by the consultant when they come on board before we can actually go out and start that physical survey. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister.
Thank
Honorable
you.
Member, Mr. Holder.
Thank you, Comrade Chairman. Comrade Chairman, one of the major concerns of small and medium scale miners is the availability of land. So my question to the Minister is, in this survey, will you be covering lands previously mined out, for example, by Troy Resources? Is it in that direction you're going in? Or are these fresh lands? Because the problem in the mining industry is that you work these lands and you rework them and you work them again. You share out blocks from Troy Resources, for example, which would have been worked before. And so, hence my question.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To the honorable member is correct, Mr. Speaker, that in that miners tends to rework land, the said land over and over. They even rework the tailings spawn over and over, mainly because our recovery rate in Guyana is very low. It is something that we need to address. Our recovery rate in Guyana is probably 35–40% if we can get up to that amount, which is very low compared to large-scale companies. Large-scale companies that use the cyanidation process, they would go up to 90–95% recovery. But our small, medium-scale miners, especially the ones who don't invest in other method other than using mercury, it means that their recovery rate will be low, and hence the reason why they rework the land over and over. And the honorable member, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chair, is also right in terms of the cry by miners, and it will always happen. It has happened for generations. It will always continue to happen. And that miners, like loggers, will always want more land, will always want more blocks, will always want more claim. That is something that I don't think any one of us can actually end. It will always happen because as you finish working a claim or a block, then you're looking for new property to go and start working on. So it was mentioned by the honorable member of Troy Resources. The mention was made of Troy Resources. I'm happy that you mentioned it because that is one way we are seeking to address the cry for land by small miners, especially not the medium scale, but by small miners to access their own land to work. Because in the past, and again, this has happened long before all of us, in that small miners were used to do, I term it prospecting on the medium scale landowners' property, in that they're given permission to work on a property, and as soon as they find some sign of mineralization or gold, they're put off the land because there is never a proper formal agreement between the landowner and the small miner, mainly because of the terrain they operate in. We've been trying to address that. We have a standard agreement which we have given to mines officers to give to small miners so that they can sign that agreement with the landowner, so they're not chased off the land when they find the gold, because it's a common practice. So what we have done in Troy Resources since we have taken over back the property, Kairuni, is to start looking at claims that show some amount of mineralization, but you would understand our limitation in doing the prospecting or the survey because we don't have the kind of equipment or technology in-house to do a detailed survey. So you may very well find us giving a claim to a small miner, but when they go into the property, it may not realize the true potential that they actually want. And that's why we have made into the agreement that if you're not satisfied with the claim that you're giving, then you can relinquish it and another claim will be given to you. So we are limiting it to 100 claims. A claim is 27 acres. So each small miner. So to date, we have already awarded 82 claims to 82 Guyanese small miners, whether they're the people who are already in the sector or who are now getting into the sector. We plan to do 18 or award 18 more via lottery. It is done via lottery, so we don't determine which claim is given to which small miner. They actually put their hand in a bag and they will pull the claim number that they will be working on. We will also target too, Mr. Chair, some new areas, because what has happened is that we have seen, and it was well ventilated last week, that gold production and declaration was down. It has continued to dip since after 2016. 2016, we peaked, we were over 700,000 ounces, and then we started decline from 2017 right down to 2023. It is a known fact. The main reason, Mr. Speaker, is because we have been working the same land for decades. And we keep reworking and reworking, but at some point in time, it will obviously diminish. The minerals will diminish from it. So it is definitely important that we look at the new areas available and to do the survey in some of those new areas, as well as some of the existing areas, because we believe that some of the existing areas have not been worked out fully, mainly because of accessibility to. Thank you, Mrs. Speaker.
Thank you, Pierre. Honorable Minister, Honorable Member.
Thank you, Comrade Chairman. Could the Minister lay over the plan in terms of the areas that will be covered? I'd be grateful.
Honorable Minister.
Mr. Chair, I think I mentioned the 3 mining districts that we will focus on first, which is the Mazaruni mining district along the Mazaruni River. That will include like the Isano, Papisho, Tamaki area, going all the way up there, which is a very rich area. The honorable member said he worked there. Also the Peruni area, which we know is also a heavy mineralized area. That's where the Torparo deposit is. And there are many small and medium scale mining operation in and around that area, as well as in Northwest District, especially around Eclipse Fall area where we have a mining station and most of the mining activities is taking place in around that particular area or sub-district, the Port Kaituma, Matthews Ridge sub-district. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Member, Mr. Hood.
Thank you, Comrade Chair. My final question in this program is, well, the minister mentioned there is a $300 million allocation for land reclamation. Could he state, I know he mentioned some areas in Region 8, Matthews Ridge, could he state how many acres this will cover complete?
Thank you, Mr.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, this allocation is being catered for 24 to 25 hectares, which is equivalent to close to about 60 acres of land. It will be subdivided because I did mention that we will do some in Region 8, especially around the Madia Township and some in Matthews Ridge area. So it's a total of about 60 acres of land.
Thanks, Minister. Honorable Member, Mr. Ramsrud.
Thank you, Comrade Chair. Under the same line item, 6284, the Honorable Minister mentioned their land reclamation. Do you have an idea as to the total land that needs to be reclaimed? And if this is gold mining area or bauxite mining? First, yeah.
All right. So, Mr. Speaker, the project, Mrs. Chair, sorry. The project that's being done as an implementation stage in Dakura, Region 10, Linden area. It's an old bauxite mine out area. As in old mines, as is commonly known in Linden, as we call it, the old mines. On the Wisma side of the river, the Matthews Ridge and the Madia area, gold mining. These are areas that would have been worked out, and they're very close to the residential area. So we're not going to do reclamation as yet over the areas that are still being worked. These are mostly areas that are close, especially if you fly into Madia. If anyone fly into Madia and you just take a look, you will see the amount of work that is needed within the township, within the boundaries of the township. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Member, Mr. Ramsrud.
Thank you, Comrade Chair. Because last year, Comrade Chair, the 300 million was spent, and then this year you're spending another 300 million. And the reason why I asked this, the area size that was available for reclamation. I don't know, it's quite expensive to do reclamation. But you know, there must be an objective as to, 60 acres compared to the area that needs to be reclaimed, it's probably just a fraction. So I just wanted to know, Mr. Speaker, the objective overall for the land reclamation, because there's a lot of money to do this. It's not cheap.
Thank you,
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Honorable Member Amsru. And I think you appreciate the cost of reclamation, reforestation. It is a very expensive exercise. But when I was defending our budget with the Minister and the Ministry of Finance, my exact words to them was, look at it as an investment and not as an expense. Because already we are earning money from our forests. It's here. I had a forestry wiki now. So already we are earning a minimum of $750 million US for 30% only of our carbon credit. If we can get the other 70 to sell at the same price, the simple math will show you the amount that we will earn from it. So it's more of an investment, and it is needed. It is needed, especially in the context of climate change and our own NDCs, our nationally determined contribution to fighting climate change, and our commitment as a country to all the agreements that we would have signed, the Paris Club Agreement, our own low carbon development strategy too. But I agree with you. I myself question it, but it is a very expensive exercise. If you have an Honorable Member Figueroa and Sears will tell you the condition of some of the mine out area in the bauxite belts in Region 10. We're talking about Big Gorge, valleys that you have to basically landfill, refertilize, and then the planting exercise. It also includes the nursery, the establishment of a nursery. So we do have a nursery at Wismo right now. We have one at Yarracabra, and we're going to establish one in Partica as well too. So that is part of the cost as well. And we're not using some of the fast-growing species, as you would know, because you know the invasive nature of it. We're using some of the traditional species. It may take longer to grow, but it is worth more at the end of the day in terms of carbon capture, in terms of the environment, and also if we move towards the economic viability of some of these species, not for our generation, but generations to come. And I went, if I may permit you, Mr. Chair, I went into a village in region 9, sorry. I think it was over the Rupnoni River behind Anai. And when you go into that village, there are some nicely planted trees. You can see that they were planted because they're in rows and well kept. And those trees were planted by, I think it's about 3-4 generations before the current people were living there. So it is a long-term investment for future generation of our country. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Member, Mr.
Thank you, Minister, for that explanation. And you brought up one of my questions, the species that was important to plant there. Just to follow up from what the Minister said, Speaker, about the 70% remaining of carbon credits. I know last year he mentioned that there's a lot of persons who are knocking on the door. Do you have the interest or anybody is interested in purchasing that? The balance or any amount?
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And indeed, the honorable member is right. A lot of companies have been and countries have been approaching us. We have been approaching people too, I can tell you that. But I cannot report any agreement, right, that has been made with anyone as yet. But I can say that we're in discussion with a number of organizations and even countries to purchase the additional 70%.
Just a follow up.
Go ahead, sir.
Right, because if you notice in my presentation, and this is what I was worried about, is the framework or the concept to what we add up to. And I think it may pose a challenge for the balance of 70%, unless you get Hess or one of these guys to come back and purchase some additional. And I think this is where, sir, is difficulties we might probably have. And then I'm looking this as part of benefit for Guyana. So maybe you may level to take a relook back at the concept of the carbon credits.
Experience stuff there. Yes.
Honorable Minister.
Mr. Chair, I take the comment in good light. But I think all of us know that in the future, carbon credits and forests will be maybe better than gold and oil and gas, man in which the world is going. And luckily for Guyana, we have a pristine forest that is almost intact, over 90% intact. So yes, we may say that the interest or there's not enough interest now, but I believe that 5-10 years from now, people will be knocking down our doors to purchase carbon credit, not to cover for their emission or not to form any or create any greenwash by any means, but as a commitment. To carrying out their own operations. Because many of these oil companies now have to ensure that in their budgetary provision, there is some allocation for offsets. And that's where we can come in, or we will come in definitely. Thank you.
Mr. Ramsud.
Thank
Mr. Holder.
Thank you.
Remember.
Final question. The minister mentioned that we're gaining 750 million US in carbon credits. I think that stretches out up to 2030. That works out, depends on which year you check it, between 50 to 100, maybe more million per year. Are you satisfied that you're only inputting 300 million towards, or allocating rather 300 million towards land reclamation? And how does this sum weigh against the rate of forest and land degradation?
Honorable
The
Minister.
point I'm trying to get, if we're going to catch up this thing in the near future and bring it under control. Over to the Minister.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's not only land reclamation or reforestation that will solve the issue. But if I point you to the other program here, the mineral mapping or the inventory, which will prevent some amount of deforestation as well too. Because what happens now is if we allocate a block or a claim, many miners don't spend money in prospecting. They just want to go and start mining. And if they go and they destroy 3-5 acres of forest because they want to mine there, unknowing what mineralization exists there, only to find nothing, it simply means that they got to move to another area. So they're basically destroying patches of forest as they're seeking to find mineral. But once we can complete the mineral inventory and have an updated mineral inventory, then we can point you in a direction where there is mineralization, maybe 90-95%. So there is no need to go and destroy any other part of the forest, like we did for the forest inventory as well too. So it's not only the reforestation, but it's the prevention of destruction of the forest at the same time too. And to answer the forest part of the question, it's a phased project, a multi-year project. I'm sure this will have to continue way into the future. So the 300 million this year, we're satisfied with that. But I'm sure I'll go back to Minister Singh next year and ask for additional allocation because it is a continuous process. Of course.
Thanks, Minister. Honorable Member, Mr. Henry.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. In conducting this inventory of our natural resources, has there anything been done about an area called Blackwater in the Cayuni area on our side of the border, where we have been told that there's massive bullfighting and activities have been happening there?
Honorable Minister.
We will consider, Mr. Chair, all of the areas, including Amerindian villages that exist within some of those areas, like when you go down to Isano, Isinuru, and some of those areas, when you go down the river. All those areas will be considered. But with regards to the border, we may have to be a bit careful now. Not that we don't want to do it, but we may have to be a bit sensitive in terms of what is happening. But I don't want to rule out, Honorable Mr. Henry, I don't want to rule out the area, but I'm sure we'll look at it.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Member, Mr. Henry.
And further, Isano, I don't know if it's confidential information, you may say so, and I'll keep quiet afterwards. But is it true that rare earth has been found in the Isano area and that activities have begun?
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Not to our knowledge, Honorable Member. Yeah. And we don't have any exploration license over that area either for those minerals. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable members, I now put a question that is sum stated for Program 262, Natural Resource Management current expenditure stands part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. Ayes have it. The sum stated now stands part of the estimates. I invite you to turn, honorable members, to pages 166 and 67. And I propose the question that the sum stated for Program 264, Petroleum Management current expenditure, stands part of the estimates. Honorable Member, Mr. Holder.
Thank you, Comrade Speaker. Comrade Speaker, line item 6116, contracted employees. I see a significant increase from 153 million to 230 million. If you check the staffing details, you see that there are only 6 an increase of 6 employees. So could the minister explain this drastic increase in the allocation?
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Not so drastic as the honorable member wanted to. Mr. Chair, in 2023, we had 29 employees under this program. Now in 2024, we'll have 35 employees under this program, an increase of 6. In the year, we had 3 leavers, 10 joiners. Most of these joiners, Mr. Chair, are bonded scholars who would have returned from studying abroad, and they are now placed in the Petroleum Department of the Ministry of Natural Resources. Thank you.
Thanks, Minister. Honorable Member, Mr. Holden.
Thank you, Comrade Chair. Line item 6284, order. Again, there's a drastic increase from 73 million to 204 million. Can the minister disaggregate the sum?
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, third-party inspection to be conducted on FPSO vessels 6.3 million. Mr. Speaker, this was increased obviously because of our third FPSO now commissioned and almost at full capacity. So we are not catering for 2 FPSOs anymore, but a third one, Prosperity. Presently, we have three companies, that are doing third-party inspection for us. And may I add that this is all part of us monitoring production and offloading on the FPSOs. Because I know there have been a lot of noise in certain sections of the media, but us not being capable or don't have the ability or the equipment possible to monitor production and offloading. So the third-party inspector, and if I may add, Mr. Speaker, it's not only the third-party inspector that is on board the FPSO, but also there's a full-time presence of the Guyana National Bureau of Standards on all 3 FPSOs, and at any offloading of crude into a tanker, the GRA, the Guyana Revenue Authority, must be present. Otherwise, no offloading can be done. Added to that, Mr. Speaker, on the meter system, it is sealed by the Guyana National Bureau of Standards. So without them being on board the FPSO, no offloading can be done into any tanker. I just wanted to add that. The second allocation, which is the local content, secretariat consultation and review of regulations, 50.7 million. Mr. Speaker, this is being allocated with the view that we will start the consultation in 2024. As you're aware, we had extensive consultation in the latter part of 2020, and for almost the entire 2021, we had consultation in drafting the local content bill that was passed on the 29th of December 2021. And we had made a promise that once we reassess our capabilities, our local capability within the private sector, not only in the provision of goods and services, but our human resources, that we are going to look back, especially at Schedule 1 in the local content legislation, which currently has 40 services or carve out, and each service carry a target. So it's not only adding services to Schedule 1, but it is also relooking at the targets and to see where we can increase targets. So this is something that we had promised, and we have made an allocation to start the consultation this year. But of course, we must do an assessment of our capacity locally. We cannot shoot ourselves in the foot and say we can do welding fabrication 100%. Can we build an FPSO? No, we can't build an FPSO. But can we fabricate parts for an FPSO? Yes, we can do that. So we need a true assessment of our capacity in country, which will be done using allocation in the 2024 budget. As we move on, there are other allocations to do part of these studies that I'm speaking of. But this here is basically for the consultation and the review of the regulations. The other allocation of 42 million goes towards the S&P Platts and the London tankers. And these two subscription, these are regular subscription that must be done, but by any oil and gas country that wants to manage the sector in a prudent manner. And this has helped us a lot in the reduction of demurrage fees. And I'll go through that because there's an allocation for that later in the budget as well. It has helped us to reduce significantly the demurrage fees by tracking tankers. And secondly, it has helped us with the pricing of our crude so that we get the best price for Guyana's crude. Now we have managed for the first time to get a premium as well too, for the very first time. When we started, we were paying a marketing fee, Mr. Speaker. Today we are paying no marketing fee, plus we're getting a premium. So this is very necessary, as I mentioned, for any oil producing country that is managing the sector in a prudent manner. Also, there is a 100 million allocation to review the seventh, or in anticipation of the seventh project that will come on board. It has been a trend by Exxon and partners that for the last 3 years they have submitted FDP. We have dealt with Payara, we have dealt with Yellowtail, we've dealt with Waru. Now we are dealing with Whiptail, and we're anticipating that another FDP will come in at some point in time this year. Whether it's oil or gas, that is to be determined, but we're anticipating a seventh project coming in. And obviously we will need a consultant to do the review of the field development plan in anticipation of issuing a production license, and then a $5 million for advertisement. So that will give you the total honorable. 11 million US.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, Honorable Member, Mr. Ramsrud.
Thank you, Comrade Chair. The Minister given us a thesis there, but thank you very much for that breakdown. On the 6284, I've noticed that there's a 204 million there, which almost double from last year. Can you say or give us a breakdown that sum? 6284.
Oh, that's 6284,
Oh, that's
Mr. Chair.
That's sorry. My apologies.
Thank you, honorable members. Honorable member, Mr. Patterson.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Chair, Minister. Just for clarification, the subsidies that the ministry gives to the local content secretary that comes on 6294 and not covered on the 6284. Is that correct? So I don't want to ask a question on the wrong line.
Mr. Chair. Just to clarify that there's no subsidy to the local content secretariat. It's part of the ministry, but this allocation is for consultation and review of regulations.
So, Mr. Chair, last year, Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
So last year, $8 million was given to the local content secretariat and you said it's a subsidy. That's no longer the case.
Mr. Chair.
Honorable Minister.
Yeah, thank you. Mr. Chair, I'm sure there is a good reason for the allocation of 8 million last year. I don't have that information with me, but there is no subsidy.
Mr. Chair, sorry, can I help the Honorable Minister out? No, he has a lot on his plate.
Okay, but
finally, this is from
hold
Hans. This is from
we
Hans,
have to
sir.
give him the courtesy of finishing his statement before we intervene, right? But I think he mumbled through the conclusion there. So you can ask the question.
No, I just want to quote from the Hansard. Finally, 8 million goes. This is from the Hansard. Your presentation responses is the same line, right? Finally, 8 million will go towards the local content secretariat. In general,
Honorable Minister.
Yes, so Mr. Chair, we can always give an account for the 8 million that was given to the local content secretariat. Maybe it was the wrong word that was used, but I'm sure that we can give a detailed explanation as to how the 8 million was spent by the local content secretariat in 2023.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable members. Honorable Member, Mr. Patterson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Just for completeness, can the 6294, the 100, the 371, I have a series of questions. I want to make sure that I put them in line the correct.
So Mr. Chair.
Honorable Minister.
Yeah, 6294. Mr. Chair, if I can give a breakdown of the allocation.
Go ahead.
Payment to GNBS, and as I mentioned earlier that we have GNBS monitoring all production and offloading on the FPSO. For Unity, it's 38.8 million. For Destiny, it's 22.2 million. For Prosperity, it's 38.8 million. The legal opinion on the new petroleum law, 15 million. And this is where we'll have local support to review the regulations being done by S&P Global that was contracted since last year by the ministry. There is an allocation of $250 million for demurrage, Mr. Speaker, as I mentioned earlier, and hosting of foreign delegation, 6.8 million. Mr. Speaker, if I may be permitted to go through, because it's quite a large allocation for demurrage, $250 million. Mr. Speaker, if I may go through it quickly, in 2020, we catered for 27 lifts. However, there was demurrage on 19 lifts. In 2021, we catered for 42 lifts. There were demurrage on 17 lifts. In 2022, we catered for 101 lifts. There were demurrage on 45 lifts. In 2023, we catered for 142 lifts. There were demurrage on 97 lifts. And in 2024, Mr. Speaker, there will be a significant increase of lifts. We are catering for 205 lifts, of which we anticipate that there may be demurrage on 80 lifts. Now, Mr. Speaker, the 2023 figure of 142 lifts, but 97 we had demurrage on. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chair, you can recall, and the honorable member can recall, that in 2023 was a year when both FPSOs underwent maintenance, normal maintenance, and then we had an issue with the Liza Destiny FPSO where the main compressor went down, reducing significantly the production. So production was ongoing, but it was reduced by almost half, below 100,000 barrels per day. So thereby contributing to a higher increase in lifts that incur demurrage costs. Hence the request for allocation of $250 million for 2024, even though we have a third FPSO that we're catering for, Prosperity. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Member, Ms. Ferguson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, if I'm to take our attention to line item 6116, contracted employees. I note for last year, we had 153 plus million set aside for salaries and benefits. But you would recall, Mr. Chair, that surrounding the issue with the US 211 million or 214 million US that went missing, the nation was advised that the officer responsible had 2 weeks deducted from his salary. But I'm not seeing it reflected here, Mr. Chair. So perhaps the Honorable Minister can tell us where exactly we will see the deduction or the amendment in the salary to reflect the 2 weeks no pay leave of that.
Honorable Minister, you said last year, right?
Well, yes, Mr. Chair, because if you look on the staffing details, under the revised, what was budgeted and
Oh,
also the revised.
I just wanted to get some emphasis on last year. Honorable Minister?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I know the member want to ask about the audit. That's the whole idea. Using 6116 and the deduction. Because if I have to answer the question, I'll answer directly. But I'm not afraid of answering the question I was asked by the honorable member. Mr. Speaker, let me just put it on record. Mr. Chair, let me answer, please. Let me answer, please.
Honorable Member, we ask a question, and if there are subsequent questions, you'll wait when the answer is given, and then I will allow the subsequent questions. Honorable Minister, you have my protection.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, and I think a few members on the opposition side know exactly. I don't want to no disrespect to any other member, that the comment of where the money is, the missing money, it simply means that there is a lack of knowledge of what really transpired. And there's an understanding by some of the members that this money was there and somebody took the money. Mr. Speaker, let me put on record. Let me put on record, but that is not the case. Honorable Ramjitan, Honorable, I'm sure they understand the process of doing audit. We have the expenses of ExxonMobil, the operator in the Starbuck block. We are doing the audit from 1999 to 2017. 1999 to 2017. So we have our auditors examining the books of Exxon. That's how you conduct the audit. However, as you would imagine, 1999 to 2017, we were supposed to start the audit long before. Unfortunately, it started late. So we had to go the auditors, in other words, had to go way back. I'm not making an excuse, but I'm telling you what the reality of this is. Hold on. If you want the answer, you gotta wait. So when the report was prepared, by the company that was contracted, the company contracted IHS Markit, right? Contracted to carry out that audit. When they prepared the report and sent it back to us, it stated that $214 million US, they couldn't find evidence that that money was actually spent by ExxonMobil on petroleum activities in Guyana. That's what it simply means. Then there were talks and negotiation between Exxon and the team at the ministry, and then there were documents. There were documents that were produced, and then some was reduced. So there was no physical transaction of money here. I just want to state that it was reduced to 3 million, but there was no report. There was no report from IHS Markit that speaks towards $3 million US. The report spoke to $214 million US, and we can only work with the report. So as it is now, it is $214 million US and not $3 million US. I just wanted to state that, Mr. Chair.
I should give back Bobby money now.
Why you should just answer?
Honorable Member, Ms.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, the honorable member refused to answer my question, but
Honorable Member, he answered the question.
Okay, sir. But
whether you like the answer is a different story.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I'm not satisfied with the response given by the honorable member. My follow-up to the honorable member, based on the explanation he just gave to us, it seems to me, and I guess all right-thinking Guyanese, that the staff did absolutely no wrong. So if no wrong was committed, why was the staff surcharged? And if he was surcharged, can the honorable member state for the records what was the total number of monies deducted for the 2 weeks from his salary?
Honorable, I want to stop this questioning at this time because there is no particular reference you're making to the allocation being sought. But having made the speech, it's only fair that we get the minister to respond.
Mr. Chair, we made a public statement about it. I think this matter was ventilated in the media and elsewhere a lot. I've stated clearly that the government of Guyana have accepted the report from IHS Market, which speaks to $214 million, and the Guyana Revenue Authority, which is the sole authority to finalize the audit. They're so doing that now. With regards to penalties towards staff members, that was instituted by the permanent secretary. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Honorable members, I now put a question that Honorable Member Mr. Patterson.
Sir, maybe better if I stand and
No,
I may catch your eye.
No, you caught my eye.
Yeah. Sir, thank you very much. The minister opened the door, and can I direct him back to same line item 6284 and 6294. Last year, the minister reported that the final, this is the second audit, is due in March 2023. It's now January 2024. The second audit has not been released publicly. Can the minister say, well, I know it's been leaked, but not been leaked publicly? And I have follow-up questions on the audit.
Mr. Speaker, as I mentioned, we made it clear in a statement that the Guyana Revenue Authority is the sole authority or the agency responsible for the audits. That is, we made a forward statement before that and said that corrective actions are going to be taken with regards to what happened. And one of those corrective actions is to have the right body, which is the Guyana Revenue Authority, to deal with all audits. We are just the facilitator. The Ministry of Natural Resources based on the production sharing agreement, but it is the Guyana Revenue Authority that conduct and monitor the audits of expenses.
Thank you, Minister. Mr. Patterson.
Mr. Chair, before it is done, actually. Secondly, Mr. Chair, on the first audit, it is somebody calling me to be quiet. Yes, in line with the first audit, sir, there has been public statement that will end up in arbitration. Can I ask though if any money has been allocated? And I start off with the gas leak and master utilization monetization plan. So we were waxed lyrically, the two goodly gentlemen from Kuwait, because, yes, at no cost to us because of Excellency, I hope I can say that, paid a state visit in the state of Qatar to Guyana, secured to exports, and they were next week, and that was January 2023. So, can I ask the status of this gas leak master plan done by theirs?
Honourable Minister.
Mr. Chair, indeed, we did report last year that we're receiving assistance from a number of countries and organizations that are helping us in building out the framework to manage the oil and gas sector. And the honorable member is right. We did receive support from Qatar, support that we don't have to make allocation for in terms of gas studies, and also in helping with the drafting of the petroleum activities bill. We did receive that support from Qatar, so we're thankful for that. And there was no budgetary allocation required. With regards to the other studies, gas leak definitely is linked to the gas to energy project. And I'm sure that within the 80 billion for the office of the Prime Minister, that there is allocation for that, but I'm not sure if it was asked of the Prime Minister.
Yes.
Honorable Member, Mr. Patterson.
So the Ministry of Natural Resources released with much fanfare a gas monetization plan, sir, which was then later downgraded to a discussion paper. Sir, can I ask who prepared this, name the consultancy, and how much did we pay for our monetization plan, which is now a discussion paper, which is now.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I think this was already mentioned. It's in the public domain. I think this very question was asked of the Vice President of one of his weekly press conference. It's former Minister of Trinidad. I'm not sure if I can call names in the House, but it's a former Energy Minister of Trinidad, and the sum is $20,000.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Member, Mr. Patterson.
Mike.
Sir, the minister also made mention of several other studies that you are going to carry out and to be done, sir. This is in the hands, sir. Can I ask the status and can I ask when this, well, not in this parliament, the country will be privy to these studies that you claimed that you have carried out with allocation given to you in 2023?
All right, Minister.
Mr. Chair, I know that the question that the honorable member is asking is not related to the current expenses of the petroleum, but I want to assure you that whatever studies, like the gas studies that was done, we have made that public, the gas strategy, monetization, utilization studies. Studies are being done by Exxon as well. And in this year allocation, when we move to the capital expenditure, we do have some amount of expenditure there allocation for further studies to be done.
Thanks, Minister. Honorable Member, Mr. Patterson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Can I refresh the minister's mind? And I'm quoting from the Hansard, sir, page 52. I have a list here of all the studies that are ongoing. I can probably go through a few. For example, conducting a study on the produced water study, conducting the block seismic activity study, conducting the effective drilling production activity marine environmental study. These are a number of studies being done by independent consultants. So I already finished off to say that I can say presently all these studies are currently ongoing and committed to present them to this assembly. So you have an opportunity a year after, sir.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, most of the studies that the honorable member is speaking of is built into the production license. The used water studies, the gas studies, these are all built into each production license, whether it's Yellowtail, whether it's Waru, whether it's Payara. is built in, and most of these studies are being done by the operator and it's being facilitated by the ministry. But the operator is their responsibility and the license to conduct these studies and to ensure that it is shared with the Ministry of Natural Resources once it is completed.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Member, Mr. Patterson.
So is the minister saying that because the operator conducted, even though he's a facilitator, there's no responsibility for this to be laid over to people of Guyana? That's what he's saying. It is.
Honorable Minister.
Mr. Chair, what I'm saying is that the operator is conducting these studies. So,
Mr. Chair,
the studies are ongoing by the operator.
Mr. Chair, I anticipated that the honorable member would go down this line, but the honorable member just proudly announced that he.
There's a standing order with respect to anticipation also.
No, well, that's for me, not for the honorable member.
Yeah.
And I did forewarn him at lunch that I'm going over his. I did, yes, that I'm going over what he said. Because we have a cordial relationship. And I did forewarn him I'm going over it. Sorry, he made mention, sir, you could go back in the answer that they've approved. I wrote it down. Six production license, and they're coming now, sir, the 70, the 100 million whiptail. So, sir, obviously the operator would have conducted his studies and concluded his studies, which would have then enabled the goodly minister to pen his signature to these production licenses. Can we ask, sir?
Honorable Minister.
Mr. Chair, all the production licenses are made public, and the license compel the operator to conduct the studies. So under the license, they will have to do the study, not the Ministry of Natural Resources doing the studies, but as part of the requirement in each production license, the operator must conduct studies.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Member, Mr.
I won't change the minister. So is the minister saying to the House and the people of Guyana that operators have not provided you with the studies which you have reviewed yourself, and I assume EPA reviewed? You have here 100 million Guyana dollars for consultants to review whiptail. So obviously, when they conducted their review of, I think, the last 4 or 5, whatever the names, yellowtail and Euro, what is it? They would have submitted all these things. You would have seen them. Your petroleum department would have seen them. Why can't the people of Guyana see them?
Honorable Minister.
Mr. Chair, again, I think the honorable member is mixing up the studies that we are speaking of. The ones that we spoke of in the budget last year are the ones that the ministry would have started or has responsibility for. But I think some of the studies that are being mentioned are commitments by the operator that is enshrined in the production license, each production license. So for example, Mr. Speaker, Waru was signed last year, but there is no operations, meaning there is no FPSO operating under that production license as yet. So some of these studies would have to be conducted when or just before FPSOs arrive or when they start production. Then some studies will have to be completed.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable, remember Mr. Patterson.
Sir, I know I want to get on to say. So, in response to Honorable Vincent Henry's question last year on studies on fishing and biodiversity, etc., the minister also committed, sir, to have that done. The long term, God forbid, the damage and the long term damage to these things. That's, I'm quoting him, sir. Not only to Exxon and country worldwide, and countries worldwide, sir, he committed on the studies, and in particular, Vincent Henry was on biodiversity and fishing stock. Can we ask for an update? And can we ask when that study or that remains on the purview of the Exxon as well.
Honorable Minister.
Mr. Chair, thank you. Mr. Chair, I think the study that the honorable member is mentioning, I think that study is a report was made public already, because at that time when we were debating budget 2023, there was a report of a drop in catch for the fishing industry, and it was being rumored or claimed that the oil and gas exploration activities offshore is affecting the fishing industry. I think a detailed study was done. I think that was the question the Honorable Member Vincent was asking, because he was obviously speaking about the low fish catch and the claim that the operation offshore is affecting the fishing industry. I think that study was done. FAO, I think, did that study. That report is public. Now, for the production license for any one of the development, it means an ESIA must be done for each of those development as well, which will include some of the studies that the Honorable is speaking of. And what we have done since Payara, and we have done for LISA 1, LISA 2, is to not only make the license public, but also the environmental public for each one of the license that was issued. It is also public. So it's the license plus the the environmental permit, sorry, that is public. Thank you.
Thanks, Minister. Honorable Member, Mr. Patterson. Honorable members, I now put a question that the sum stated for program 264, petroleum management current expenditure, stands part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. Ayes have it. The sum stated now stands part of the estimates. Honorable members, we can turn to page 503. Parliamentary language. Honorable members, I now propose a question that the sum stated for program 261, policy development and administration capital expenditure, stands part of the estimates. Honorable members, I now put a question that the sum stated for program 261, policy development and administration capital expenditure, stands part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. Ayes have it. The sum stated now stands part of the estimates. Honorable members, let's turn to program 262. And I propose the question that the sum stated for this program, natural resource management capital expenditure, stands part of the estimates. Sorry, there's 262, but I'm seeing a 0 there, so there's nothing to put. Am I wrong? 262, natural resource management, should not have been in the. Honorable members, I now propose a question that for program 264, petroleum management, that the sum stated herein, capital expenditure, stands part of the estimates. Honorable member, Mr. Patterson.
Thank you. Apologies. Mr. Chair, through you, Minister, 1.638 billion has been expended so far in this program. And I specifically, and one of the targets would be the creation of oil and gas data management system. Can I ask for an update on that particular item? So,
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, the intention is to create our own data repository in country. Presently, and since the inception, as a matter of fact, of our petroleum sector, our data has been stored externally, and we believe that it is time, or it must happen at some point in time, that we store our data locally in-house, and that we can get the true benefits from our data, because the data from Guyana Basin is very sought after and very valuable. We have seen that during the current bid round, when people had to pay millions just to get data in order to submit a proposal for the blocks that were up. So the allocation is to move towards setting up a data repository in country so that we can have our own data in Guyana. Of course, this is not the total allocation, because way more than this. Is just phase one. The honorable member would know how expensive it is to establish a data repository in country. And not only to establish a data repository, but the analytical work behind the data repository, because having the data and not being able to analyze it is basically a waste of time. So you must have the capacity to do the analytical work behind the scenes so that your data can be presented in a format that companies will pay for. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Member, Mr. Patterson.
Mr. Chair, I thank the honorable member, sir. I asked what progress was made, sir. But permit me, if you may, Mr. Chair, to read from the Hansard and tell me if this sounds vaguely familiar, sir. Mr. Chair, this is from the Hansard, sir, of last year, but it's page 50. Mr. Chair, indeed, part of this allocation is to ensure that we start the process of having our own data repository right here in Guyana. The disadvantage we face right now is our oil and gas data is not stored in Guyana. The issue is that we can make a lot of revenue by having data in the country and us being the sole agent responsible for it. Presently, it is hosted by 2 different companies in Houston that has the type of capacity to hold our data. So I could go on, etc. and on. So that's the exact, there is some vaguely similar to the response I just got. That's the exact response the minister gave me last year. So he's consistent. I give you that, sir. So I asked what progress has been made. That's my question. So last year he told us why is it there. This year we asked him what progress has been made.
Honorable Minister.
Mr. Chair, we already have the consultant working, or already recruited. The consultant is now looking at not only the hardware but software requirements. Obviously, they will have to look at the volume of our data, what type of analytical work must be done. So it's a work in progress. This will definitely be a multi-year project. So what the honorable member mentioned about last year, I'm happy that it's consistent and I'm not misleading the House in any way, that it is a multi-year project. It cannot be done in 1 year. This will we'll probably come back next year for the final allocation, then to move towards the actual physical establishment of the data room and to have our data come to Guyana.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Member, Mr. Patterson.
Yes, I see to my colleague who seems on. So, sir, I'm glad to hear the progress has been made, sir. We have a consultant recruited, sir. Sir, can the honorable minister inform us House when this consultant was recruited? Who is the consultant and the contract sum? And of course, the contract period. Sir, he said there is a consultant in place.
Honorable Minister.
Mr. Chair, thank you. Mr. Chair, the consultant was hired in 2023. I was told it is the same consultant that designed in Norway data repository system. And as you're aware, Norway is somewhat of a model country when it comes to managing the oil and gas sector It's not only the way in which they manage the sovereign wealth fund, but the entire framework to manage the sector that can be seen as a model country. So it's the same consultant that actually designed the Norway repository, and that consultant was hired in 2023. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Member, Mr. Patterson.
Sir, yeah, my last question for the minister on this head here. Sir, under the same project code, sir, 1, enhancement of legal institution framework. Obviously, for management and oversight of the oil and gas sector. So we spend 1.6 billion and we're spending $700 million here. But I recall the ministers also has, right, an additional, $50.7 million for lawyers included under 6284, I think it is. So can I ask the minister, so if you're doing a enhancement of the entire oil and gas sector, sir, why is it that you're now, and now obviously this is an IDB project, if I'm right, IDA project, why is it you're now budgeting for an additional sum? It's not a duplication of effort.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, the honorable member is right. There's an allocation of 50 million under 6284 of the 264 program. And then there's an allocation on the component A of the World Bank funded project. Mr. Speaker, I did mention that the 50 million budgeted under 264, 6284 is for local support to the consultant, S&P Global, for the finalization of the regulation for the Petroleum Activities Act. This budgetary allocation in the capital estimates, it is direct payment to S&P Global, probably one of the best consultants in the world with regards to, the honorable member know that in the world with regards to the oil and gas sector and developing the legal and regulatory framework for countries around the world. They have been contracted by us. They have worked with us on drafting the Petroleum Activities Bill. They're continuing. It's an 18 months contract that we have with them. So they're also assisting too with the bid round process. So it's not only the Petroleum Activities Bill, and they're also working on the regulations. So this allocation here is for direct payment to S&P Global for their work with us. And the 50 million in 6284 is for local support for this company in reviewing the regulations. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable Member, Mr. Holden.
Thank you, Chairman. I want to go back to data availability. Mr. Speaker, after much pressure from the opposition and the public for transparency in publishing the daily data production in 2022, the government made a big splash about their websites where this data could be seen. However, the site, Mr. Speaker, has been sporadic and in several months behind in reporting data. Could the Honorable Minister explain why this is so and why this piece of information cannot be updated daily, since the data recorded in real time on the FPSOs could be transmitted immediately or at least daily? As I recall, sir, data was transmitted to the EPA and the Department of Energy on a daily basis under the coalition. So could the Minister explain how this budgetary sum will change this situation?
Honorable Minister.
Mr. Chair, thank you. Mr. Chair, I think the honorable member is mixing up the data repository from data that is being made available on the website with regards to production.
I didn't ask you anything about it.
Honorable member, Mr. Patterson would know that the data repository, the data is basically the seismic data, the other technical data that you will retrieve from shooting seismic studies. Those are the kind of data that will be housed in the data repository. And that's why I mentioned that it requires a lot of analytical work, because to make that data useful to anyone who wish to bid for a blocking EANA, they can't buy the raw data. It got to be analyzed before it is being bought. So that is with regards to the data repository where this allocation would go towards. But to speak towards the comment, I think is more of a comment that was mentioned by the honorable holder with regards to production data. I think if you check our website, you would see that the production data is being published, delayed by a month. So if this is January, you would have information up to December 31st. When we go over into February, you will have information of for January. You are also correct that we have the capability at EPA, and I'm happy that you mentioned it, because I think the opposition has been supporting sections of the media in saying that there is no way to track production or to track what is happening offshore on the FPSO. So I'm happy that you mentioned it, that the EPA has that ability to track what is happening offshore, even with regards to marine traffic in real time and also production. But what we do at the Ministry of Natural Resources is ensure that we verify the production data with what we have. The operator, GNBS also will have the record, GRA will have the record, and once it is completely verified, then we will post that for public consumption. So it is being posted, but once it is verified. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Remember, Mr. Holder.
Yes, I'm not satisfied with the answers, but I'll move on to the sake of time. On the same production monitoring, Mr. Chairman, the APNU FC government had recognized the dire need for capacity building to oversee the oil and gas operations. So it approached the World Bank, which provided $1 million and brought in an expert from Mexico, I believe, to develop a 36-member petroleum unit. These are specialized professionals in petroleum engineering and other related specialties. And as I understand it, the plan was to recruit internationally and fill those positions by 2020. Of course, we hadn't a budget. The APNU FC hadn't a budget because of the elections. Now, when this was made public in 2021, Minister, the Honorable Minister first claimed that he had no knowledge of it. It never happened, and he didn't know anything about it until the cover of the World Bank document appeared in the newspapers. And the minister then responded that the plan was not abandoned. I'm sorry the minister can remember this. If the minister is correct in saying that the World Bank plan is still being executed, could the Honorable Minister say what is the status of fulfilling it? And how many of these technical positions have been filled and or will be filled through this budgetary sum?
Honorable Minister. I think I saw some movement. I don't know if it's the Honorable Ejil is responsible.
It's one line item.
We're stopping the clock. We're stopping the clock at 4:09. Have the technician quickly come and tighten the connection.
Take a break.
Well, I wanted to say this in the assembly, not in the committee, so I'll wait till we resume. Just to update the whips, we have gone, as of now, 3 minutes over the allotted 1.5 hours. And so we have eaten into the few minutes we have. So we now just have about 5 minutes remaining when we return. Honorable Minister is switching. Let's hope. Okay,
Mr. Chair,
so we're resuming at 4:10. We just lost a minute and a half.
thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I think the honorable member is a bit confused with regards to what is happening in the petroleum sector.
Minister, could you pull the mic a little bit down?
In the petroleum sector, and he spoke to several issues in his comments or question. There were several issues that he spoke to. Well, first of all, to bring clarity to what we're discussing, Mr. Speaker, this allocation, the total allocation, capital expenditure for program 264 petroleum is funded through the World Bank project. That's the first point I want to make, Mr. Speaker. Secondly, I think what the honorable member was getting at is the Petroleum Commission, the design for the Petroleum Commission, the staffing for the Petroleum Commission, the technical units, or the units rather, that will be created to manage the affairs and to advise the Commission. We have mentioned on several occasions that we will have a Petroleum Commission in place at some point in time, but as it is now, we have been working with consultants through the World Bank to build out the framework to manage the sector. The other thing, I think the member is referring to an article or a comment made by the former head of EPA, where they were going to build a unit at EPA to monitor what is happening offshore. That has happened. I'm happy that to report, and I think last year I did mention it. If you go back to the Hansard, like the honorable member Patterson did, you would see that I did report last year that there's a unit at EPA with 13 trained personnel, and that we can actually have real-time monitoring of our marine space, including offloading of crude into tankers from the FPSOs. So the entire perception that we don't know what is happening offshore is not true. We're actually monitoring that in real time. We know when a vessel is moored alongside the FPSO. We know when it leaves. We know which company it is registered to. So I think maybe there was a mix-up, but I want to say clearly that all the allocation here is from the World Bank project. So basically, we are continuing the work. We are continuing the work that has been started from the creation of the oil and gas sector in Guyana. So there is no sidetrack, or there is no deviation from what we want to create as a world-class framework to manage the oil and gas sector. And I fully support the comment made by the Vice President, and that we have one of the better managed oil and gas sector around the world, especially for new oil producing countries. Especially for new oil producing countries. And if I may just be allowed to just give you a quick example. Countries like Norway discover oil maybe in the 50s or 60s, 69, and then they put a sovereign wealth fund in place in 1996, 1997. Some of these countries producing oil for decades, maybe centuries, don't have a local content legislation in place. We have moved towards having a local content legislation. And all of this is being done under the World Bank project, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Honorable members, we have actually used up all the time we have had, not only for this head, but the savings. So I now have to put the question, the sum stated for program 264, petroleum management, capital expenditure, stands part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. Ayes have it. The sum stated now stands part of the estimates. Thank you, Honorable Minister, and thank you to your staff. for taking us through your agency. Thank you very much. House will resume. We, Honorable Member, Minister Edgehill, I know we have your staff here. Let's take the break. So we'll give them a fresh start and invite them to partake in whatever refreshments we have. Honorable members, before we take the suspension, just want to remind the Honorable Member, Ms. Philadelphia, about that list you promised to provide the House, failing which you will have to do the necessaries to the Honorable Minister. And we have a lot of other promises to lay over documents. Please, those who have promised to lay over, let's have those documents presented to us. Thank you. Honorable members, this is a good time to take the suspension for our afternoon break.
We will bend like a bow and never break. Our fathers came here and they lived and died here, and we ain't moving nowhere. Make no mistake, 'cause we ain't giving up no mountain, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one.
Mr. Speaker, this is a budget of deceit. I repeat that. This is a budget of deceit. It scores high on the art of deceit. It sets out to deceive the people of Guyana.
We are going to create a caste system in this country whereby the inequality is going to be so vast to the extent whereby they are literally going to control this economy.
For every child that will receive a $40,000 because we care cash grant, they will be equally receiving because we do not care more than $500,000 debt burden.
Mr. Speaker, Budget 2024 is funneled and fixed between the Treasury and the pockets of friends, families, cronies, and flatterers of the People's Progressive Party to allow the oil money to flow into a small circle without a single drop of the oil money.
Mr. Speaker, Guyana's foreign policy, whilst always important, has assumed the place of paramountcy over the last year. One could not, however, tell this based on the delivery by my colleague across the floor yesterday, who spent 25 of his 30 minutes on everything else except foreign affairs.
There's someone in jail. And I'm concerned. Let us be fair. You promised in your campaign, in your extract of a campaign manifesto, you were going to amend that production sharing agreement because we don't know what's making deal. 3.5 years later, you have not changed a word. You have not changed it, but you know why? Because the deal's sweet to fund all of your projects. Let us be fair.